September 26th, 1994. A small and usually quiet English town of Grantham, Lincolnshire. Around 3:30 in the afternoon, 14-year-old Helen Pacey returns home from school. The front door of the cottage on Longcliffe Road turns out to be unlocked. Inside, complete silence. Going upstairs to her parents' bedroom, the girl discovers the body of her 38-year-old mother, Julie. She had been strangled. Nothing of value was missing from the house, except for a rare Swiss watch. Lincolnshire police would go on to gather hundreds of leads, the killer's full DNA profile, and eyewitness accounts of a mysterious stranger with an unnaturally red face. Yet, even 30 years later, this case remains one of the UK's darkest unsolved mysteries. Julie Pacey was a regular homemaker. Together with her husband, Andrew, and 2 children, daughter Helen and younger son Matthew, they lived in a peaceful neighborhood. Andrew worked in supply management and was often away on business trips, while Julie worked part-time at a local school canteen and took care of the house. Monday, September 26th, began like any other day. In the morning, Andrew left for work. The children went to school. Around 11 a.m., Julie drove to the local high street supermarket. Security cameras and witnesses confirmed. At 1:30 p.m., she left the store, got into her white Ford Escort, and drove home. That was the last time she was seen alive. When the investigation team arrived at the scene, the crime scene immediately raised questions. There were no signs of a struggle on Julie's body that would suggest a sudden attack. The front door hadn't been forced open. This indicated that Julie had either let the killer in herself, or he walked through an unlocked door. The cause of death was strangulation. Forensic experts managed to recover the killer's DNA from the scene, biological material that could already be isolated in '94, although DNA databases back then were only in their infancy. However, the strangest element was the motive. The house hadn't been ransacked. Jewelry, cash, and electronics were left untouched. The killer took only one item, a rare women's watch, a Luc de Roche, with a gold bracelet and a blue dial, along with Julie's small leather purse. The watch never surfaced in any pawn shop in the country. During extensive interviews with neighbors and Grantham residents, detectives kept hearing the same description. 3 days before the tragedy, on Friday, September 23rd, a strange man had approached the Pacey home. According to witnesses, he was between 30 and 40 years old, of medium height and stocky build, with a round, unnaturally red face and dark hair. He was wearing dark blue work overalls. Julie herself had told a friend that a few days before the murder, a stranger in overalls knocked on her door, asking strange, out-of-context questions about the neighborhood. On the day of the murder, between 2 and 3 p.m., the man in blue overalls was seen near the Pacey house again. Furthermore, a neighbor spotted a similar man leaving the yard and getting into a dark blue car parked nearby, presumably a BMW 5 Series. Police produced a facial composite, but despite the sketch being featured on national television on Crime Watch, the man's identity was never established. Over the years, Lincolnshire police checked more than 5,000 people. Hundreds of men matching the description or owning blue BMWs submitted saliva and blood samples. In 2015, thanks to advances in forensic technology, scientists were able to extract a full, clean DNA profile of the killer from the existing evidence. This cleared all previous suspects. The profile was uploaded to the UK National DNA database, but there were no matches, meaning the perpetrator had never been caught for any major offenses since, nor had his genetic material on file. Detectives also investigated potential links to active British serial killers from the 90s, but none matched the recovered DNA. More than 30 years have passed since the murder of Julie Pacey. The criminal case remains open. Lincolnshire police routinely renew their public appeals. They are convinced that someone out there still holds the secret of the man in blue overalls. The killer left his DNA at the scene, but without a match or a direct tip-off, this lead remains nothing more than a digital code in an archive file. Who was the man with the red face? An opportunistic intruder who spotted an unlocked door, or someone who had been stalking Julie for days? To this day, investigators still have no answer.